Welcome into Just Another Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Just Another Chris. And boy, do I have probably the most wild episode for you today. I'm like, it's going to be a crazy one. I sit down and talk with an old friend of mine, Jason Germany. I don't even know where to begin to describe this episode, but I will do my best. I know him from my toy days. Yes, when I owned Showroom Collectibles, my old retail store that I opened back in 2014. So we talk a little bit about what he collects, if he even still does. We also talk about shady business people, business owners. I'm kind of nervous to even release this episode because we do a lot of name dropping. I've always shied away from name dropping individuals, especially if they've done something bad. I just kind of steer clear of that. But in this podcast, I really want to start opening up a little bit more, sharing some of my opinions, some of my thoughts, and my experiences. We also talk about Jose, that little short documentary I released a few years back, which we go into some detail about what happened after that came out. Me getting a TV show. And we also talk about my biggest scandal. It's a wild story, to say the least. It involves the police raiding my house. It involves stolen Star Wars toys, death threats, and much, much more. So sit back, buckle up. It's going to be a wild one, and enjoy episode 6 of the Just Another Podcast. Oh, and disclaimer, there is a few F-bombs dropped during this episode, so you've been warned. Hey, Jason, what is going on, man?
Nothing. I don't even want to be on this podcast.
I figured. I could pretty much probably just woke you up, probably just rolled out of bed. And,
yeah. 5 o'clock. I'm like, 5 o'clock at night, man.
PM. But yeah, so Jason, how long have we known each other? It's been it seems like forever.
It's been a minute, dude. 10 years? Has it been 10 years? I bet it has. 3.
I think it's coming up on that because I opened my store in 2014 originally, and I gotta say you were coming in right when I pretty much opened.
Yeah, so we could say getting close to 10 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is too, though, is since we come from the collecting world or have a background in that, and that's how we know each other, do you still collect stuff or toys of any kind, or have you changed
I still collect books. I still collect books, dude. It's gotten worse in ways and better in ways since we did our Toy King episode those many moons ago. Yeah. In fact, I just recently got kind of internet famous because I bought the 19th known copy of Robert E. Howard's first book, the creator of Conan.
Ooh.
So I got that at auction, a gent from Bear Creek. So yeah. So
that's a flex.
Oh, it was a massive flex, bro. Yeah, it was at Heritage Auctions, and I spent a nickel on it. I'll tell you that. Actually, it's out there. Actually, they know what it was. It was like I spent about $7,800 on it.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that's $7,800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured it wasn't $700 to $800.
No. Daddy dropped the dime on that son of a bitch.
Wow, that's a lot of money for a book.
It just sort of raises the quality of the stuff that you've got. And then I started looking at the shelves going, wow, I don't need all this other stuff because it's not as good.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like the same idea I've done that. And a lot of collectors do that. They kind of hone in on their collection because it's really easy to go crazy and start buying up things we don't want, or not necessarily the things that we don't want, but things that we just don't really truly need. We kind of just buy stuff sometimes to fill a void that day. I know someone that does that and it's horrible. Yeah. So it's nice to see that's that you've been doing that quality over quantity, because it looks like you still have a few though.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I've still got probably maybe 800 probably total, maybe somewhere around there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean if you had probably still around there somewhere.
So when you were coming into my store though, you were buying toys and stuff, and I know you were buying up props and stuff too. Do you still collect any of that stuff, or is it mostly just focused on books and that right now?
No, I still collect props when they show up. The problem is that it's getting really hard to find stuff I want that's not outrageously expensive, right? It's the days of getting to just go online and buy $200 knife from the Dune miniseries. I think that those days are over.
Oh, you know? Yeah, especially the movie came out and there's
yeah.
a little more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Forget it. Yeah, forget it. That's over. I actually have a Stormtrooper helmet on order from England right now, so I'm still buying that stuff because why not? It's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, you already have like the coolest helmet though. Why would you want more?
And here comes the geek. I have the stunt helmet. I'm getting a hero helmet, so
okay,
slightly different.
So
yeah.
For those at home that don't know, if you guys didn't watch his lovely Toy Kings episode, which is actually out on this channel, it didn't go out on Toy Kings. It was the lost episode of Toy Kings was yours, and I put it out here on the Just Another Chris YouTube channel. And in that video, we show your Stormtrooper helmet that you own. And do you want to quickly just talk about what that is? Because I think it's the coolest thing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's a Andrew Ainsworth helmet, and I know there's a ton of controversy about Andrew. And you know what? I don't care. It's this whole thing where he says he's using the original molds and everybody else says he isn't. And that's all fine and dandy. I'm not going to get into the arguments because I'm pretty sure he's not using the original molds. But
now when you say original molds, that's the original molds from like the movie itself, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Andrew says he's using the original ones from 1976. Mm-hmm. Everybody else says he's not. I'm not going to get into that. How about that?
That's fine.
I'm not going to get into it.
No. I just wanted to clarify when you said that. That was all.
Right. But he's the guy that made them for the movie, right? He's the craftsman that made them. And so I was on vacation over there in England for Christmas and actually ended up calling him up and getting to go over to his shop the day before Christmas Eve, or it was Christmas Eve. I can't remember. And he's in the same shop where he made these things for the first Star Wars movie. And he just made me a Stormtrooper helmet, gave it to me, and it was still like warm out of the oven, and just get to take it home was just so freaking cool, man.
I mean, I enjoy looking at your stuff, but I think most of the stuff that you had, as far as at least the toys goes, like I think you ended up parting with that at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, dude. By the time we did my Toy Kings episode, I'd parted with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Darn near all of it. That just got, I don't know how to put it, dude. It got weird to a certain degree. I wasn't buying new stuff, right? And then, you kind of get done, right? Like, oh, I've got all the Robotech stuff except for some weird, unproduced prototype, something I ain't paying money for. And I think I lost the energy and the vim and vigor that requires, man. There's a focus to that I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So
yeah, no, I completely understand. Because once I was kind of getting caught up in that where I was just buying up cool stuff that I thought was awesome, and then when I sold my store and I was still like trying to buy some stuff, but it just kind of felt like it was controlling me a little bit. Luckily, it's never gotten anything crazy. I were like taking over my life, like some people that we know.
You never got Toy King. You never Toy King yourself.
No, I mean, I still buy stuff, and I mean, now I have a pretty large studio space where I can, justify, quote unquote.
Well, I have to put it on my wall for decoration. Yeah,
exactly. It's like it's a prop set piece or whatever, and things like that. But it's never like really like controlled my life, because I know people like my friend Jordan. Shout out to you, Jordan. I love you, man. Buddy. I get the sense of where like it's kind of becomes his identity. I don't mean to throw him under the bus, because there's like a million other people that have it 10 times worse than Jordan. Jordan doesn't have it that bad, but
Jordan doesn't have it that bad. I've never seen his episode.
Yeah, no, it can become a very scary thing, and not just with toys, just with anything in general. Oh, like even with books and stuff. Like we watch
way with books, as we talked about in my famous Toy Kings episode. Book collecting is still the only mania that's recognized. Bibliomania. It's the only collecting that is like a crazy illness, and it can get.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll change in the coming years with like the not resurgence, but the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the acceptance of like pop culture and toys and like, comic books and stuff. I mean, comic books probably falls into that world. But
I realize it's not unique to our generation, but it is in a lot of ways unique to our generation in the fact that so many of us are doing it. But this idea of that stalled adolescence, right, where we're staying kids until we're 55.
Right.
That's a weird thing that's specific to, I think, us and maybe a couple, 2, 3 other generations around us. So I don't know. It's weird.
When I made that little short documentary about Jose, which you were part of that. You were in it. We did an interview, and then you were in it while you were there that last day I ever saw Jose, pretty much.
Right, I know, yeah.
And
a day or two before I left for Texas.
Yeah. And after I put that out, a lot of people were reaching out to me and like saying how they're rethinking their collecting style or their habit, or they're just realizing they don't need it.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'll tell you something. I read a lot of those comments, and I felt like a real kind of a jerk because it was like somebody commented, and it was such a smart comment of, well, why don't you talk about the good side of it? And he's absolutely right. They were absolutely right, because I was really focused on the negative side of collecting, right? And I think that's because, you always worry about yourself, right? I got to be careful. I never, But there's a real good side to this too, where it can be super fun and give you a sense of belonging and purpose. Like, you and I are only friends because I was collecting stupid stuff. So,
I wouldn't say you came across in your own eyes as a jerk, but if you want to put the blame, put it on me, because.
Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna blame you. Of course I'm gonna blame you. Give me a break.
Obviously it's my fault.
Yeah.
Because I had control over what you were saying, kind of in the way I was editing it. But the whole point of that project was to shed light on the thing that's not really seen. It gets overlooked and hidden. So I knew when going into putting out that project or that little short documentary that there was going to be some backlash and some people that probably wouldn't appreciate it, because people don't want to see the negative. They want to hide it from that.
You don't want someone pointing out your flaws, right, bro?
Exactly.
You don't want that.
No, exactly. And so that was on purpose. Like, I wanted to share that, and I was also crazy nervous of even putting that out and sharing that much of Jose's side of it, because I didn't want his last words, which he wouldn't even get the ability to.
There's no rebuttal.
No rebuttal. I don't want to say defend himself, because I wasn't trying to mock him or make fun of him or putting him down in any way whatsoever. But I was scared of that. Luckily, the responses I was getting was overwhelmingly positive. There was only a couple of instances where some random comments were like, "That's not fair."
Yeah.
But all of his family members, I've been reached out by 6, 7, maybe more over the years of the family saying thank you. They loved it. And yeah. And
you handled it with such, you did him an honor, right? You did him a service. You handled it very nicely. It was a very sympathetic portrait of somebody. And I thought we both walked the line pretty close there. It was not disrespectful. He was a good guy, man.
He really was. And I think about it even to this day every now and then, because I have some of his original comment pages just like you do, and I have them hanging up on my wall at my house and stuff, so I think about him from time to time. But I just think his story, and people that, if you haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked in the description of this, but he yeah.
Is it down below or is it above? Where are you going to link it?
It'll be in the description below.
In the description below. All right.
Yeah. And Jose was a customer at my store, and he chose a different path for his collecting habit to the point of homelessness.
Yeah.
He chose it over a lot of other things, and even his kids, in a sense. And he tragically passed away, and that was it. I had all this footage from him over the years that were just sitting on a hard drive, and I kind of put together this, we could learn a lot from him and his life and his choices. So, so for those of you at home, that's what we're talking about. And the project was called the Rise and Fall of the Collector. The whole point of this is, in previous episodes of the podcast, I've had similar conversations with different people, and even the last couple episodes of me making this podcast, I've learned a lot of things that's to be conscious and aware of in my world. I kind of hold a lot of power, in a sense, to where I have to be careful of what I put out there, because I might not think it's bad but somebody else might think it is, even though it's something like, oh, like it's a bad camera angle of my face, or like I got a little zit or something like that, where I'm like, I don't care, but someone else does. Or especially in Jose's situation, where I released this huge like dossier kind of thing about his life a little bit. He was willing. I mean, he shared the stories with me on camera, so right. I felt like that was okay.
Host, yeah, like, yeah, he giving you awful permission, and man, we didn't talk about a lot of stuff. We were very careful to not talk about some stuff that was not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't want to disrespect. This is what's really on my side. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm really mad. I interviewed his son.
Oh, no kidding.
He called me. We did a Zoom call and we recorded it. Wow. Yeah. Cannot find it.
You're kidding.
I have searched everywhere. And the crazy thing is, I'm an archivalist when it comes to my
keep
content.
Everything.
I have backups of everything. I have literally anything I've ever recorded in my life. I pretty much have. I have my high school stuff that was recorded on tape. I have it all. But this one thing is pretty big, pretty impactful stuff. Like another point of view gone, apparently.
Digital gods hate you.
It's just disappeared. And I know I probably still have it somewhere. I just haven't been able to find it.
And you'll find it when you're done with the redoing of whatever you're doing. Then you'll find it when it's all over. Yeah. Then you'll be like, oh, here it is.
I know. I'm really bummed that project almost led me to my own TV show.
Was that the Netflix thing, right? Or something? Was it Netflix?
It wasn't Netflix. It was so Wired magazine was commissioned or hired or whatever you want to call it to produce a pilot episode for a TV show for a network.
Okay. And
so Wired hired this production company, and this production company found me and did they knew everything about me. It was crazy.
Jeez.
They knew so much. I mean, everything I do is out there anyway, but they were able to track down Toy King stuff, show them collectible stuff, just on the Chris stuff. And at this point, I didn't have my store anymore, but they knew about my store. They knew about, they also knew about my other channel I used to have, which I didn't have then, but it was called Geeks Life, which I haven't done since 2019. That channel's not even around anymore, but they knew about that, and they knew about my buy sell trade aspect and the stuff that I was doing, plus the all the vintage camera and photography things. And so we chatted, and they sounded like they wanted me to be on air, personality or a personality expert. But I was able to smooge them into saying, hey, I been trying to get this, what you're trying to say, what you're trying to make. Right. is the thing I've been trying to do for the last 8 years.
Yeah, you're I'm on this.
Yeah, and so because they saw the original Jose documentary, and that's what led them to everything else, and they liked it a lot. But they said right up front, this show would be a positive one and not a doom and gloom type of thing. So they wanted to keep it upbeat, but it was going to be a hunting, a toy and collectible hunting show, as well as a showcase to show off it, that was literally Toy Kings, my show. They were going to take my show and make it into an actual TV show.
Huh.
So I was able to smooth them into what felt like an audition to be the host. I did 2 Zoom calls, and they wanted me to say lines and do this and that. And then I was able to schmooze them into potentially being the producer of the show. And then they said, however, they're already in production on the pilot, and if the pilot gets greenlit and picked up, that's when I get the call. But I never got the call, so the show never got picked up. Fortunately. But it's still pretty cool to see or hear that something from my past, which was Toy Kings, was the very, very, very first idea I ever had as far as online content creation or TV show, whatever you want to call it. And the first thing I was onto something. Basically.
Yeah, right. I'm not crazy. This is working.
Yeah, it caught the attention of the big wigs or whatever, the major leagues, if you will. Yeah. And so, even though it didn't work out in the end, it was kind of like a cool I was onto something. Maybe I should continue this. And
it'd be very validating, right? I mean, this is working. This is working.
Yeah. it's been interesting because then I hit the road in last January and started filming for kind of like a documentary, the main one that I've been trying to do forever, but finding help, like finding help, like proper, like people that know what they're doing has been horrible. And I've been able to film like a bunch of stuff and meet some really interesting individuals.
Nice.
And they've also have, which has been kind of interesting and cool. They've seen the documentary. It went sort of quote unquote viral, if you will, in the collecting community. Like I was briefly a celebrity going to like toy shows and stuff. People would actually recognize me and see it. I'm like, wow. That's kind of crazy.
That's awesome.
So when
it would be like, where were the brains behind the operation? Jason, where's that guy?
Where's that guy?
I mean, where's he at? Oh, you'd be like, oh no, he's not around anymore. Sorry.
Exactly. Screw that guy. But but also it's been kind of when I'm interviewing these people and they've seen it, they're also pretty gun shy to talk to me because they're worried about me turning them into like another Jose. Yeah. Right. So that's been a little bit of a hurdle in itself.
Like you could take everything that I said in the Jose episode, but you could contrast that with everything that I said in my Toy Kings episode, right?
Exactly.
Where the reason we were kind of downers in the Jose one was because we knew how that had ended. And it was a tragic story, right? There was no positive freaking spin on that, man.
Yeah, I did my best.
You did, but you did it respectfully, right? But there was no way to make that like a shiny, happy REM song from the 80s, man.
No, like literally, I mean, most people would probably be like, yeah, this guy was a drunk and he went homeless and he died.
Right, and that would be the end of their compassion or knowledge about what happened. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's unfair to get too down on that whole project about being a downer because it's like, well, what did you want us to do? Sorry. I mean, I don't remember that all being great. Like I remember a lot of really awesome times with Jose, but that's not what we were talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, no. And I still feel like even you did a great job of emphasizing that like he was a good guy. Like you said he was fun to hang out with and he was a pain in the ass. He totally was.
Awesome.
But it was like a good pain in the ass. Like he almost when he would walk into my store, like I'm like, okay, I got to put on my game face, and he'd come in, and then we just start not shouting, but like we was getting this like, all right, now he's got to riff on each other. He's a rough guy. And,
I remember sitting on the couch in there as I did way too often. I don't know why you ever kicked me out of there.
It was like I knew it was like Thursdays. Jason's coming in.
Jason's coming in because he got nothing else to do. He's gonna be sitting here for 3 hours. But Jose'd start walking in, and you'd be like, "Oh God!" But you had so much fun. It was the guy was great, man.
You never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. That was also the thing.
Or what was going to come out of his backpack that he was selling that day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, one day he rolls up on his little bike, his pedal bike, and he pulls out a Daredevil #1 comic book, original.
Right. Like, huh? Where's the rest of this stuff, man?
I was like, what?
So awesome. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I miss that store though, dude. I do. I don't have one of those up here.
Yeah, there's days where I do miss having the store. But then there's most days where I don't. Especially after COVID. I don't know what would have happened.
Oh, geez, dude. Man. No. Oh. With how deep that lockdown was up there. I mean, how would you, I don't even know how you would have done it.
Yeah, I don't know. And the only reason like the owner that still has the store now, the guy I sold it to, the only reason he's even still around is because he still works a full-time job and his wife does too. And so he just has the store is like a hobby almost.
Like a side hustle or something for them. It's not really the thing. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't hear good things from people about the place. I was even at like a unrelated store they just did video games. Some people had come in and they were just hanging out, chatting them up, wouldn't shut up. And then when they finally did leave, the owner apologized to me about it. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes people come in and want to talk and not leave.
Customers won't shut up.
And so I was like, oh, trust me, I get it. I used to own, Showroom Collectibles. It was my store. And so I chatted her up a little bit, and she was just randomly saying like, oh yeah, those people, I never hear anything good about that place.
No kidding. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
They don't do anything. They don't post online. They don't they rarely even make a Facebook post. They stopped doing live sales pretty much after I sold them the store.
No kidding.
They just have, I've been in there a couple times over the last, several years, and it looks super pretty in there. He's great with a like presentation of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's not a salesman. For me, I never cared that have it look nice in my store. Presentable, sure. But not flashy, because
let's be honest, right? 90% of your business is somebody looking behind the counter and going, Hey, can I have that thing that's not on the shelf? I want that.
That was like my sales strategy. I wouldn't put things out on purpose. I would leave it out behind my counter. And be like, ooh, I want that. And then they think that it's like they got something before somebody else. But I didn't care about having, the coolest, flashiest store, because I'd rather just, sell the stuff,
right.
Move it, coming in and getting it out. The moment it walks in that door, I want it out tomorrow, if not the same day. So with this guy,
unless it's a $30,000 Star Wars collection, then you probably don't.
Well,
want to hang on to it a little bit.
We could talk about that too. We'll put a pin in that. But
circle back. Is that what we do?
Circle back to that one. But it's like you walk into his store and it looks great. He has like displays set up. He's got like things really nicely organized. It's cram packed full of stuff. It reminds me of what my store looked like, kind of, with the quality of stuff, the quantity of inventory, I should say, before I started doing live sales. There was just so much stuff. But he's not doing live sales anymore. He's only relying on people walking in the door. And which, I mean, whatever, it's his business. He can do whatever he wants, but you go in there and he has like things set up in like kiosks areas. Like my old office is now just like the high end room of like hot toys and whatever stuff. Oh, it's kind of nice. It's cool.
Yeah.
But like, he still works a full-time job. So I don't understand, like, why waste the money for the overhead if you're not going to like really take it like fully seriously.
Yeah, that's strange.
Hey, it's his business. He can do what he wants.
There was a guy out in Beaverton that ran with the same business idea, right? He was a comic store.
Dude, I still want to go there so bad. It's impossible to get in. This dude is still there.
He's open like 5 minutes out of every other day or some weird stuff.
Dude, he opens at like midnight. And that's not a joke or exaggeration.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, he legitimately opens. It's called Heroes and Hobbies.
Heroes and Hobbies.
Shout out to you, Heroes and Hobbies. Because
so am I allowed to say what I think, or should we not do that?
You can say exactly. Say whatever you want.
That guy is a douchebag. So there's your shout out to Heroes and Hobbies. You're a douche.
I know. I was going to get to that too.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I went into his store maybe 2 or 3 times, and what a piece of work, man. I mean, honestly, I've rarely met someone who needs his ass kicked so bad.
I was going to soften the blows, but I love how
you
just
like, no. Edit that all out if you want to. I'll throw another one out there. He's a rather unpleasant fellow. You can use whichever one you want. They're cut.
No.
Yeah, the last time I ever went in there, I was just like walked out going, dude, I want to deck you so bad, and you need it. Like he desperately needs it. Yeah, it's just wow.
Mm-hmm. And I've never been there. I want to go there. I wanted to make a video of me going there in my pajamas.
Like waiting in the parking lot.
Yeah, literally. I wanted to get like those like classic pinstripe pajamas with like the sleeping hat. And to show up, because that's literally when he opens his store. He closes at like 6 a.m. and there's like and literally if you have to call him, he'll call you back. He will call you back, but it could be like 3 or 4 days later. And
what's awesome is he'll call you back if you don't leave a message, and he'll be abrasive. You didn't leave a message.
Yes.
I remember this. This is a true story, internet folks. And we're both agreeing on this. I had called and he wasn't there, so I hung up. And I get a rando phone call days later, like, yeah, this is so and so, Timmy, and you didn't leave a message. And I'm like, who the f is this? Like, what are you? You called and didn't leave a message. Like, bro, I don't even know who you are. Boy, girls and hobbies. Like, well, I don't care. Let's just, wow.
That's spot on. Exactly my experiences. He legitimately will call you back if you don't leave a message and ask you why you didn't leave a message.
Why didn't you leave a message?
And then he's like, so what are you looking for? I'm like, I don't know. I was just wondering when, I was just seeing if you were open. Yeah, that's right. What I said. And he's like, oh, you're right. And then he said, his response to that was like, oh, I'm not always open. You do have to call ahead. And if I don't answer, you gotta leave a message and let me know what you're looking for. And I could probably track it down for you. I'm like, okay, well, you open today? He's like, no, I'm not open today. I'm like, okay, so when you open next? He's like, I'll probably open up maybe like Thursday or Friday, probably around maybe or as early as 11 p.m., mind you.
PM, yeah.
I've met him once, and it was at a little toy swap meet type thing.
Okay.
And I was not looking directly at him. I was looking at the table, and I was looking at like broken Ninja Turtles, like old 80s Ninja Turtles with like missing arms, no heads, and they're like $5 a piece. And I'm like, okay. And so, but normally when you go to those like meets or whatever, they're just like casual people. They don't own a business. Yeah. And their price tags are usually like the garage sale price tags, those sticker or whatever, or little Post-it notes with Sharpie or the masking tape. Right.
Everything on this table's $1. Just buy it.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
His price tags were legitimate price tag, like the price gun tags. And so I was like, interesting. And so I didn't look up. I was just like, do you have like a store nearby by chance? Because I was curious to see if it was. And that's when I looked up, and he was wearing a zip up hoodie. I'm going to say a bad word because he said it. I'm quoting him. So people, I'm about to drop an F-bomb, but
you're ready. Here it comes.
He's like, he unzips his hoodie or his jacket and spreads it open and goes, yeah, it's on my fucking shirt. I was just like, what?
This is the thing, dude. Only in Portland, because it is illegal to beat someone's ass. And now look, he's a weaselly little kid too. Yeah. He weighs what, $110 soaking wet? He can't defend himself. This kid's never been in a fight.
I'm double his size. I could take him easily.
Exactly. Like, dude, I'll just sit on you. Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny because that story you just told, that is that guy. Like that's it. Yeah. That's it. We're done talking about that store because that's him.
Yeah. Yeah, and to clarify at home, what was written on his shirt was the name of his store, Heroes and Hobbies. Let's circle back now to that pin.
Circle back. We're gonna circle back. We didn't even talk about Dustin yet. I'm surprised.
Oh, that guy. We could talk about him.
Talk crap about all the toy stores in Portland. But actually, I will talk good about Billy Galaxy, obviously. Still like Billy. Is he still downtown?
I think so, yeah. I haven't heard about him in a long time. I thought you didn't like him. Or what was the other one? Dr. Tom's?
No, I love Billy. Billy was great. And Toby out in Oregon City, super good guy.
Yeah. I like going out there.
Corner Collectibles. Mm-hmm. No, man, big fans of both of those guys. Big fans of both of them.
Wasn't there one store that you had some stuff stolen and then it went to there?
Yeah, that's Dr. Tongues.
Dr. Tongues, that's
Dr.
what it was.
Dr. Tongues, I had that shop. Yeah, that guy. I hope you watch this video, you thief. Yeah.
I knew there was one over in Portland. I couldn't remember which one it was. But
that guy knowingly bought stolen stuff that he knew was stolen, that I had called his shop, and he held it back for a while so that I wouldn't see it when I came in, and I came in and saw it all. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you own a business, especially toy or collectibles, really any business, you have to know your clientele, your customers, and pay attention to what they're buying and what they're doing. Give them a discount is also something I always encourage people, and most businesses don't do that. But if you give them a discount, guess what? They're going to come back.
that 10% that you gave up, you're going to earn that back a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. But most people, they just want to be like, it's $500 item. Yes, I made $500 today, but you may never see that person ever again.
You never, ever.
If you knocked off like $50, man, they're going to be talking about that for a couple of months.
They'll be coming back forever. Yep. And that's the cool. I mean, it's some of those stores that I always liked that, like Billy Galaxy. Billy had great stuff, and you knew you were going to pay premiums because he had the good stuff in those cases, right? But I always thought his prices were always fair, but you were buying rare stuff from him, so it was tough. And then Toby was always fun down there at Coin Corner because you never knew what you were going to find. It was just I loved that place. So fun. I missed that place, actually.
I love going down to just that area in general.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Great.
It's like it's like and plus his store alone is just like, the variety of things is that in that store. It's like half antiques. There's like antique stuff in there and toys, comic books.
Randomest, dumbest, weirdest stuff that you just go, oh, I have to have that now. Never knew I needed, train houses, but yeah, I need those. That's great. Yeah. Oh, he was awesome. Super cool guy.
Yeah, I might need to go down there again here soon.
Those are the ones I liked. I'm big fans of those guys. Dustin, not so much, but
Dustin, oh my God, he
jeez,
I could talk about him for an entire day.
Oh, I know. Seriously, does he still own the Star Wars Tour?
StarWarTour.com. Gotta get it right.
Yeah, the Star Wars Tour.
Yeah, he's just a scumbag.
Yeah, he is. No, I mean honestly, it's a weird. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I don't know. We're just talking negative about people right now. Whatever. I don't.
Kind of, but they deserve it.
Put the positive stuff out there about Toby and Billy.
Sure.
Yeah, probably want to hide the other, not the Heroes of Hobbies one, because.
No, I'll leave that for sure. But like, at the same time, I don't own a toy store anymore. I'm not in that world. I can almost freely. I can talk about whatever I want, and the stuff that I do talk about is always experiences, like my firsthand experience.
Yes, exactly. That's it. I'm not talking about these aren't things that didn't happen. These are things that did happen.
Yeah, or I'll say stuff like, I've heard from about 5 different people the same story.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a pattern here. This is weird.
I'm pretty sure that's real.
Pretty sure this is what happened.
Yeah, like Dustin buying a Target shirt and going in early morning and walks right into the back of the store and just steals a bunch of Hot Wheels. No,
the best thing was that he had his wife scamming the Lego store.
That's the worst one.
That she worked at Dove Lewis. So they were giving them discounts for the Legos he was selling in the store because she said she was working at a children's hospital.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's true. And I know that's true because somebody went to the Lego store and asked them if that's what was going on. And they said, yes. So
I've heard, I knew about that before I ever met you because those whispers have been out. Because I used to work in the Lego. I used to work at
the Lego store. Right.
Not the Lego store.
No, but bricks and minifigs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'd heard that story about an individual.
Oh God.
And so then when I met you, you put a name to the face. I was like, oh.
And you went, wait a minute. I know that story. Yeah.
That makes sense. Both him and his wife were terrible, honestly. He's the only one that's really been caught doing anything, though. And he literally went to jail.
Well, he was doing, he did that, but he was doing recards too, right? Wasn't he doing recards?
I think he was knowingly selling those like Polytoy incident, like.
Okay, he was knowingly selling
scamming people for that stuff. Yeah. But he was selling cocaine out of his store. And then went to jail. That's a fact. Yeah. And so his wife didn't get caught, but he turned witness and ratted out a bunch of people. So his sentencing was like way less. I got that information from his best friend because he told his best friend wanted me and him to be buddies, and so he almost tricked me into a car ride, like a 3-hour car ride to Bend, and was almost trapped me in a car with Dustin.
To go with it. Oh wow.
Yeah, but then Dustin, or I said I couldn't go for some reason, and then he told me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah, right. I can't trust you. it's weird too because like I was actually this coming from a person who was friends with Dustin. Like I was friends with Dustin for a while, and then I just started seeing he was first-handing knowledge to me where I went, "Why are you proud of that, dude?" Right? It would just be like, "Wait, no, I have very flexible morals in some stuff, but no, man,
no." Especially if you're basically stealing from sick children for profit. That's
right. It's just
no.
Yeah.
Nope.
And then you would say, but this is the thing I never understood about him is you had to at least respect that he would tell you, "Oh, you see all these Star Wars figures? I went and stole them all from Target." You'd be like, "Wow, well, that's honesty. That's okay."
Yeah, it's ballsy to say that.
I mean,
you didn't think I was in trouble.
I didn't know we were that good of friends because we're not, bro.
My favorite story of Dustin is when he reopened his store.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Just so everybody knows, let's put this in. I want to get the audience to understand this. Dustin is the Tiger King of toy stores. Okay, that's what you need to get in your head. He is the Tiger King, and he is surrounded by Tiger King people. Okay, so you get that in your brain, and now carry on with your story.
That is great. That's great. I love that. But no, my favorite story of Dustin is coming from, oh my gosh, it's so good. So the name of his store is already kind of tells you everything about him, the type of person how he thinks. So his logo is Darth Vader's like head, which is copyrighted. He's getting away with it.
Yeah.
And the name of the store is officially it's Star War, and then no S after a war, right? Because Star Wars. Store.
It's Star Wars.
.com. That is the official name of his business. Right? Okay. All right. So keep that in mind. So one of my regular customers at the time, he was also in an episode of Toy Kings. He told me this story of when they first opened, because he was curious as to why or how Dustin was having a store that's dedicated to Star Wars toys and having it named that with, having Darth Vader's as his logo, which is
seriously kind of copyright. Last I checked, I think Disney owns it. So,
yeah, could be wrong, but possibly.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
So, John was becoming friends with Dustin,
because
is fine.
He does that.
And he's really good. He's a pretty good manipulator. Yeah. And so, so John's like, so I asked him about the name, and he was dead serious to me when he was telling me the story. He was so sincere. He was like, he almost was giving the sense that he was getting a peace of mind, knowing that Dustin had cleared up the confusion of the name of the store and how he's not associated with it. He pulls out an envelope. Dustin does to John. Pulls an envelope out, and there's like papers in there, and he's like, here's all of the court documents that I have settled with Mr. George Lucas himself. And inside this envelope is a picture of Dustin shaking hands with George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, settling that he was allowed to use the name of the Star Wars Tour.com and using Darth Vader as his logo. And John believed it because he was
John.
And
dude. Okay, so I was back in Portland for a wedding, and I stopped into that store. Have you been there?
I refuse to go in. I walked by it.
If you're in Washington Square, do yourself a favor and walk in there. It ain't going well. It'll make you happy.
Oh, nice. Maybe I should step in.
It ain't going well. Yeah, it's pretty dirt mallish. It's not good.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear. Normally, I don't wish ill will on people, but him, I do. Yeah. He's a terrible human being.
I made a lot of money off him.
For years, I would hear stories about this guy. Right? Mm-hmm. Never saw a face. Right? I've only heard the legend of Dustin.
The legend of Dustin.
And I remember when I first opened my store, this guy came into my store, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" Greeted him nicely. There wasn't no word was even said. Didn't even acknowledge my existence. Did a quick loop around. grabbed a Marvel Universe figure. I remember this vividly,
Cool.
which is nothing. They
Yeah.
retail for, at the time when Toys R Us was around, for like $14, maybe 15.
Yeah.
And he pulls one off the shelf. It's brand new in the package. He goes, you're selling this for $10? I'm like, yeah, they're about 15 or so in the store, so $5 off. He slams it into the ground, like just spikes it like a football, and walks out of my store. I'm like, what the hell was that?
Jeez.
Right? And so like that was weird. I only remembered it because it was weird.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, I was at the very first, no, it was the second ever like Vancouver Toy Junkies toy show. And I had a friend, his name was Trey, and I had a friend Dave and some other people. They were there. They're all in like this crowd. And my friend Trey, the guy that was trying to set me up with, like trap me in the car with Dustin. He's like, hey, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Dustin. And it was like, swear to God, it felt like this. Like everything kind of went into like a movie montage slow-mo, and the crowd of people just like drifted, and a light just like formed onto this individual. And I'm like,
short, balding, fat,
yeah.
Wonder.
And then he's just standing there like staring at me, and I'm like, he's like, this is Dustin. And then Trey's like, my friend Dustin. And then it was as if like my mind with all the puzzle pieces from all the years were just being like, I could literally see them, like Minority Report being like, like Tom Cruise is like doing his thing right in the sky or in the air. And then I froze, and I was like, you're that guy.
You're that guy. Awesome.
I didn't even think. I just said it out loud. I didn't even really think about it.
You owe me $15.
Yeah, well, that, and then all the stories I'd heard, the toys, the Target thing, and the Lego thing, and some other stuff, and then the incident at my store, and so all these things were just coming together, and plus now I got face to a name, type of thing. I'm like, oh my God. Well, he proceeded to make sure I wouldn't be able to buy anything at the show. He was notoriously likes to be like this kingpin of toys, and I mean at the time he I think he was fresh out of prison actually around this time.
Yeah, he would have been. I remember you telling me this story. He would have been just out of prison at that point.
He was at this show trying to buy up inventory to reopen his store, even though it's under his wife's name because he's a felon and he can't own it. He's a felon, and his wife doesn't get caught. Yeah. So he'd walk around with just a wad of cash in his hand, and he would just follow me around. And I was just like kind of like looking for stuff for myself or like for friends. And I was like in the middle of a transaction for something that was like $10, and Dustin comes up behind me. He's like, "I'll give you 40."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" And so the person's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take 40."
Of course,
3 times the amount. I'm like, "Okay." And he did that to me like 3 or 4 more times, and so pretty soon I was just like walking around, just like seeing him behind me, and I'd be pretending I'm interested in something expensive.
Pretend to buy something? Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is $150. Swear to God, he fell for it for one of them. It was a $150 thing. I'm like, I'm thinking about getting it. And then I threw out an offer to this person for like kind of low. It was like 120. And they're like, nah. Dustin's like, I'll give you 210.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then they're like, yeah, okay. He's like, I'm like, oh, shucks.
Shucks, belly darn. I have met very few people with such a Napoleon complex and just such an outdated or inflamed idea of who the hell he is. Because it's like, dude, you're beyond a fucking nobody, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like, geez.
Yeah. Oh, he also, I mean, yeah, he can do all that stuff. Really, the kicker for me is hearing him like try to rip off a hospital for children. Obviously, it's horrible. But at one of the Toy Junkie shows, early days, it was like 2015. I had my friend. Remember Carlina? She worked at my store a bunch.
Oh yeah, I remember her. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she at one time was like 8 months pregnant, and just wanted to come by and help out at the one of the toy shows one day. Okay. I'd stepped away from the table for a bit for some reason, I don't remember why, but I came back and she was in tears because some guy came over and was like fat shaming her. And it was him.
Wow.
I was pissed. I was livid.
Wow.
So I went over and had words with him. I've had customers literally come to my store. Like, one guy was pacing outside my door because he was at Toys R Us that morning looking to buy an exclusive Groot action figure. And when he walked in, there was 2 people at customer service screaming and yelling at the customer service rep about, give me the other case of this Marvel Legends Groot action figure. There's on your website, it says there's 2 cases and there's only one on the shelf. Go into the back, get it. Turns out it's Dustin and his wife. They bought them at Toys R Us, took them to their store, trying to sell them for triple. But he didn't know that guy was Dustin and his wife. So he went up to them and was like, hey, I just want one of those. And his wife like turns back to him and goes, get the fuck out of my face. Blah, blah, blah. Starts cussing him out. Like, these were here first. You know, it's my stuff. And then he goes to their store for the first time the same day because he'd heard about them.
Dude, no
he was already going there anyway because he's like, oh, I'll stop at Toys R Us first, then go there.
And then I'll go over here and see.
He goes in there and sees them and then comes to my store. And it just is pacing. I'm like, what is Josh doing out there? So I come out, I open up the door. I'm like, you okay, man? He's like, I just need a minute. I'm like, okay. And so he's just walking back and forth. And he comes in and he's like, all those stories I've ever heard about this guy Dustin in that store is true. I was just at Toys R Us and he told me everything. I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. Because then he goes to he was trying to buy it. It was like $50 from him. And it's a $20 toy. And it's just like, man, I definitely did not want to associate myself, period, for personal reasons and for business reasons, just because the way he acts to me, the way he has treated my really, really close and almost basically family, some of my friends and stuff, and just other customers. It's like, geez, dude, how are you even in business, man?
Yeah, right. That's what I never understood. Like, how are you still in business? I never got that.
And here's the thing. Here's a great my friend Jordan, and sorry, Jordan, I love you, man. I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but you are a good example of this. Like, Jordan doesn't care about, and most people, most collectors, they're after something, right? They don't care where it comes from. They just want it.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as the price is right? Who cares?
And that's just humanity, and kind of too. We kind of look away at certain things when we really shouldn't do it. But like, if like I'm telling these stories about like Dustin and stuff that he's like Dustin's done to me. Jordan's like, oh cool, well he's got the thing I want, so I'm just gonna buy it. I don't care. Yeah, well, he may be selling drugs out of the back. I don't care. I'll just buy it from him anyway.
I just need the thing.
And people don't care, so as long as they get their thing, right? And so Dustin can get the stuff, but we don't know where he's getting it. He did.
Yeah, but that's the thing we do know. That's the problem.
Well, do. He got in trouble. He got 2 people fired from Toys R Us. Because he was bribing the workers to
buying off the dock.
Out the back, basically literally buying it out the back door type of thing. Mm-hmm. Some people were stealing the stuff and just giving it to him for like pennies. And other times they would just be like, he'd throw them like, I guess, gift cards. That's unconfirmed. So keep that take that with a grain of salt, but give them gift cards. And then they would hold them. They wouldn't even put them on the store shelves. And then so he would still purchase them legally at full price that Toys R Us was selling them for, but he would just get the call saying, "Hey, these came in. Let me know when you're coming in, basically, and I'll bring them out for you."
I'll make sure they're held out for you.
And then he'd give them a little, like, I've heard, again, take a grain of salt, like some gift cards or maybe some cash every now and then.
Little extra here or there, sort of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Real shady stuff.
It's just like it's amazing that this hobby attracts such scumbags. Because they're not all that, man. I mean, we got some awesome people in this hobby and awesome people that sell and people that are passionate about it, like, or like Billy Galaxy is an encyclopedia of knowledge in that kid's head. Guy. In his head, though, is just he knows what he's doing, man. And he's a good guy. They're not all these people, but my God, are they cartoon characters, dude?
And at the end of the day, it's like, it's freaking toys. These are man children. And that's kind of why, like, I enjoy it. I don't want to put people down for their hobby. However, I kind of want to just show those types of people to the world a little bit, shine some light on the fact that this is toys. Get over it, grow up a little bit, and maybe go for a walk. Go outside.
Maybe go for a walk. Yeah. Maybe don't take life. Quite so seriously. Like, have fun with it, have a good time, but man, chill out.
No, absolutely. I mean, a huge, not this wasn't like a main reason why I sold the store, but part of it, and especially reflecting on it more, like I was living in a fantasy world that I didn't get to escape from because I had to put my brain in that world because those people would come in and, want to, spend a couple hours at the store and chat about movies or TV shows and comic books and all that sort of stuff. They get to come in and that's their escape, and they get to go home. Maybe they go home to more of it. Maybe they just go home to their family, and live a normal life, go on an actual vacation and whatever. Right. But for me, I never got to escape it. I had to be stuck in a fake world. It was nice to some degree, but I never got to really feel like I could have real conversations with some people. Rarely. You were about the exception. We'd come in and talk about some crazy cool stuff outside of toys and fakeness. But I never got to, like I was saying, like I just felt like I was in a world where I kind of just felt trapped and never got to really fully experience.
I never really thought about that, Chris. That's crazy. And it's like, you don't want to talk bad about the customers, and I would never do that. But you had a couple guys there that, one of the guys, it was just, you got to deal with that guy. Like, you got to be his buddy while he's in there. And you go, I was their therapist to a lot of these people. Yeah. Or I was the type of person where their mom's changing their sheets that day, so they had to leave the house. And that's not even a joke. Like, there were people that would come into my store, grown men in their 50s, 60s, and they were living in their mom's basement. Like, and they would just tell me that. Like, you know who I'm thinking of, right? The airplanes. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we just edit that out because that's not necessary. But
I'm not. I wasn't going to say that.
But he was. But that you couldn't but not feel just bad because dang well you were the only friend he had.
Yeah, to a lot of people, not just him, but like
not just him, but he was just the one I thought of. But
like there was lots of people. They have nowhere to go, no one to talk to except in the store, which is, I think, as weird as it sounds, it might contradict a lot of what I just said, but it is one of the things I did enjoy because I was able to provide that to somebody, and that I took value in that. And even now I still think about some of those people. Like, I never even got to say goodbye to them because the new owner, we worked out a deal where there was going to be a transition, and he just went back on it. And then I just got kicked out immediately, just overnight.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. So we were going to do like this like grand thing where like, I'm out of here. Here's a new owner, do a big event at the store. We were planning it all out. And then the moment like the final check came in from him, which he split into 2 parts, he sent it to me. I got it. And I was booted off the Facebook page, and I was done. Like,
wow!
It was very sad because like I wanted to say goodbye to some of these people.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's just, and not only that, it was your life for a while, right? I mean,
I birthed it, man. I grew it in my garage, and then moved it into a store, and then like expanded it and everything. So like I wanted to at least see it go on, and then he changed the name and stuff right away, like overnight, pretty much too. And that was the death of Showroom Collectibles. So even though, which was weird because he was adamant because I had offered. So let me backtrack a little bit. When I sold the store, part of the deal was that I had offered to him freely that I would stay on for him and train him and teach him how to some of the stuff. Basically, kind of hold his hand a little bit for like the first like 2 months.
Sure, a little buy and sell, a little this and that. Sure, a little get your feet wet. Yep.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it was also for me to be able to see some of these new the people, the regulars I did like, and say goodbye properly or whatever. But I also just didn't want to leave this guy high and dry.
Sure.
Just like, here's a key, give me your check and peace out. I legitimately wanted to see what the thing I built continue on and live through the next phase of its life. He had told me, he's like, I want that, and I don't want to change the name because that has name recognition and all that stuff. The reputation I built was pretty solid. And
pretty good, yes. Other than stealing a bunch of Star Wars toys.
Which we're coming back to that.
Other than that.
Okay. It was not. It didn't do that, but we'll get to it.
Lion, he's full of crap.
But so he loved that and wanted it, and he was adamant about having those terms added to our contract.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And then he just decided to not do it.
But I told him that I told him no, I don't want to put it in the contract because I didn't want to be committed to somebody that was going to be kind of like what he ended up turning out to be, and be stuck for 2 months, still working for free, basically. I didn't want to be totally in debt to somebody I wasn't agreed with, but I told him, based on my reputation, that my word it's meaningful, it's impactful, you can take it to the bank, basically. Yep. However, I still wanted an out because of his end. If he turned out to be like a scumbag like Dustin, I want to disassociate, basically. For sure, and he said, cool, no problem. And then we paid up and everything. And then he's like, peace out.
Wow.
Just like that. Okay. I'm like, oh, you don't want me to help or anything? You were adamant about that, but now you don't want it. Like, okay, that's fine. I wasn't going to tell him. That was the thing about it, was I wasn't going to tell him what to do. I was just going to teach him some like what's been going on and like let him find his own way and just kind of like guide him.
But you could, like you said, you're saying goodbye to your customers, but you can tell him, oh, hey, this is Jim. He likes Thundercats.
Right.
This is Barry. He likes G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
That's extremely important knowledge.
Yep. Yeah. And I was going to also do an every other week live sale for him.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
For the 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So I'd be there. He would be there too with me side by side. And I kind of show him like how it goes and what the audience is used to. And all that stuff. And then there was even briefly talking about me even if I had stayed, because there was talks of me moving. That obviously didn't happen. But if I had stayed, like I may even come in and do them for him like monthly, or something like that. So I was still a part of it and all that. But nope, he booted it out, changed the name, and then he closed the door. He closed the doors on the store for like 2 months, maybe even 3 months. They didn't even go in.
Weird.
Yeah. And then it was really sad to see like it's just, I think I built is just kind of gone.
It's gone. Yeah. That's too bad. I like that. That's a little bit like, what's the name of that comic shop? I Like Comics. Chris.
Oh gosh, that guy. For me, like locally, there was only like 2 places that I had problems with. It was Dustin and Chris. Yeah. And it all comes to firsthand experiences. For me, a lot of people, and people that probably listen to this might assume this. So I'll clarify and maybe change your mind a little bit. But for me, I don't see competition in anything. I see opportunities for collaboration. And
exactly. Yeah.
And so it's not that way in, at least in my experience with toy businesses. I always wanted to have a store that would either open up across the street for me or just down the road or even across town. And we worked together on a fake rivalry.
Yep. That's it. That's so perfect.
Right.
That's so perfect.
But people can tell that it's probably fake, but we could do like sales and stuff, call each other out. Sales, like, he's selling this for $20. I got it here for 15.
I'm selling it for 15. Yeah.
Right. But on the back side of it, we're calling each other and planning this stuff out, running sales, or like, hey, I have a customer looking for this. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Or I'll just send the person. I mean, regardless of my beef with Dustin or any of these other businesses, mostly just those 2, I would still send people to the quote unquote competition just because it would help out the customer. They get what they want. I look good at helping them and all that stuff. So even though I don't get the money and they're not doing the same, but that's my own thing. But so for me, like, it's not me complaining like, oh, it's a rival business and they're more successful, blah, blah, blah. It's not that at all. These people are that were legitimately like just scummy people out for themselves. They would literally sell their mother for $1.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
That's those people. And that is not even an understatement or exaggeration.
Sorry. Please go.
No, that was pretty much it. But like, and they only think about today and the money that they're going to make that day. A customer walks in.
Yep.
How much money can I rip out of their pocket? Hey, real quick, I wanted to remind you guys about the members area. Yeah, there are some amazing perks by becoming a member of the Spitfire Club, such as extended versions of Just Another Podcast and extended versions of YouTube videos and early access to said YouTube videos.
and exclusive monthly signed photos sent to your door, and access to the members exclusive Spitfire Club t-shirt. But that's not all. There is now an exclusive members only Zoom call. Yeah, we have our club meeting. We sit down, we chat, we talk about things that we're into, things that we're struggling with, things we want to improve, and special guest appearances from other like-minded content creators. Ugh, it's so much fun. If you want to become a member today, there is a link in the description below. I'll see you in there.
I think we've teased it, we've teased it enough. Just clear the.
Let's do the thing now.
Let's clear the air.
Let's
clear the air. The year was. Hang on, let me switch cameras. The year was 2015, I think. Yes.
Do it in a deeper voice.
The year was 2015. How about that?
That's good. I like that. That'll work. Okay. Well, good. We'll go with that.
So, short version is. It's a very long story, but the short version is
there's a video which we will link in the comments below.
A terrible one, might add you, but hey, it does exist. But short version is owning a store. I owned a buy sell trade store. You never know when you're going to buy something if the thing that you're buying is legitimately owned, aka stolen. AKA it's always a risk. Mm-hmm. Now, my store. Well, typically when you sell something to like a pawn shop or something, they buy like electronics. I mean, they can buy video games and things like that. They have to hold it for 30 days before they can sell it. It gets entered into a website to make sure it's not stolen. It gets flagged. And after 30 days, they can sell it. And so toys don't fall in that world or in that realm.
Like toys, Legos, movie. I think only pawn shops are the ones that have to do that. So you go to any, like Powell's isn't going to do it. You sell them books or something, they're going to.
Yeah. No. Well, or if I decide to sell like game consoles, I would have to do it for that. Anything with a serial number on it, and technically you're supposed to hold it for at least for 30 days before you can sell it. Now, when I had my store, not all the time, but majority of the time, it became a smarter practice. I wouldn't sell it right away. I would wait a few days before I would put it out. But not on everything. If someone happened to be in there and see it, I would just sell it. Because this toys, it's not like anyway. With that
would you like do a photo of their ID or something at least?
Oh yeah, totally. So the way it worked is when you sold something to me for cash, if it was trade, it wasn't. I didn't do that because if you're trading it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really into it that much.
You're usually regulars at that point.
Yeah.
But I guess that is technically a great way to launder stolen goods.
Yeah.
So take that mistake that I did and still take IDs. But
everybody.
But if I got if I was paying cash for something, I took a scan of their ID and they fill out paperwork and then they sign it and everything. And
a whole thing. Gotcha.
Yeah, a whole little thing to purchase it. And then it just gets, archived, and that's pretty much the end of it. I use it for tax write-off purposes, and if anything were to come up later down the road, if police shows up or something, then you can track it down. There's like a vetting process or a skill, more or less, that you try to build when you buy stuff, especially from a person you've never seen before. Because typically if they want cash, they're not someone that's going to be coming in again. They're just looking to sell it and move on, and that's going to be the end of it. So there's a vetting process that you try to do. However, it's not a foolproof process. No one can read people's minds. And so there was a day where this guy comes in, and very clean cut guy, and he drove up in a nice car. That's also another thing. If they're walking into your store, that's also another thing to keep him look at. Type of thing. They could have parked around the corner to hide their car or something, and they're sell something.
Oh, right. They don't want you to see what they're driving. Okay.
Yeah. So this guy rolls up in his car. It was decent car, nice dressed guy. I asked him the same questions. He gave me the same stories, and he had a bunch of vintage Star Wars toys.
Nice stuff too.
Yeah, Force Awakens Star Wars. So the resurgence of Star Wars. This was 3 months or so.
Before. It was a few. Was it only that far before? It was before though. I remember that.
It was before everything. So the value of the stuff it was still worth some money, but it wasn't worth what it would have been now. Like it would have been worth 10 times the amount now.
Because I remember kicking myself in the butt for not buying what you offered me.
So this guy came in, right? And he had a bunch of stuff. I asked him strategies for buying stuff. Never say the first price. Just don't. You just say, hey, what do you want? What are we looking to get for this?
What do you want to get for this? Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's also another indicator of thing to look out for of if it's stolen. If they're like, oh, I don't know, it's a couple bucks. Right. Probably stolen. If they're if it's like $100 item in the aftermarket and like I want 85. Okay, they're probably like, okay, they want top dollar. It's probably pretty good, and they know the game of negotiation. So things like that. So I had asked him how much he wanted, and his story was he was trying to move to Las Vegas. He has a big Star Wars collection that he inherited from his uncle when his uncle passed away, and he didn't want to sell all of it. He just wanted to sell enough to get him to move to Las Vegas to be with his girlfriend. That was the story.
Good.
Yeah. And then he told me where he worked currently. He told me he worked at the Cricket Wireless because he'd pulled out a BlackBerry in the year 2015. And it was like a brand new one. Like I guess they just released one. So we were like nerding out over that for a few minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cause I haven't seen BlackBerry in like 10 years at that point. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And so, I'd asked him what he wanted for it. They were a bunch of like, what were they? I don't remember, to be honest. There was a few carded action figures.
There was a few carded. I was looking at a carded Greedo.
Yeah.
And it was...
there were some pretty good ones.
There were some really nice ones, yeah.
Yeah. Original in-package 1977 stuff.
76, 77. Yeah, they were good.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, the street value was... I honestly don't remember, because he came back one other time and sold me some more stuff. Because what he brought in wasn't enough for him to move. And he so I don't remember what I offered him. It was probably I want to say maybe like 800 to 1,000.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit less for this initial stuff. Sure. And at the time the value wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't
crazy. No, it wasn't crazy. Yeah.
So that was a pretty fair offer. I tried to pay close to 50% for the stuff that I could. That's pretty
why you
fair.
had a business.
Most places you would get 10% if you're lucky, 20.
Yeah.
At best. Mm-hmm. And so I was the one that was like, no, if it's $100, you're going to get $50. Mm-hmm. You know, I'll make less, but hey, it's coming to my store.
Yeah. So too damn nice to be in business. That was your problem.
That was legitimately kind of why I got out of it. I'm not a shark.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he comes back again and with more, like a lot of stuff this time. And I wanted to say there was roughly street value close to $10,000 worth of Star Wars toys.
Wow.
Street value.
All vintage stuff.
All original vintage, sealed in the box, package deal, all of it.
Primo stuff, yeah.
Primo goodies. And the movie hadn't come out yet, like I said, so it was like right before it. So it was like the right time to get a good deal on this stuff. And me being a small bit store, I'd only been open for about a year at this time. And I knew I could sell this for a lot of money, but I would have to probably, if I wanted to wait and sit on it for a few months, I could make way more money, right? So I ended up paying him not 50% because it was into the thousands of dollars that I gave him. I want to say I gave him close to 3,000, maybe to 4,000, somewhere in there for everything.
That's a lot of money for a starting business, dude.
Yeah, that was literally like all the money I had in my bank account. Like it was pretty scary to do. And so I knew I could sell some of it right then on the spot, get some of it back, potentially sit on some of it just for a couple of months, skate by, and then pop it for the new movie. And I could probably be sitting really, really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ended up selling about, here's the other weird side note with that. The next day he comes back and gives me a $5 bill because he said I overpaid him by $5. Weird.
Wow. This guy was good.
He was good.
This guy was good.
Yeah.
Because now when he's just done is made you be like, oh, this is the most honest person I've ever met.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And he said he still had a bunch more stuff, like loose stuff and some other things that he didn't really want to sell still. And so, yeah, he got me. He got me real good. He got me solid. And I didn't see him again after that. So I sold about half the stuff, and I was going to sit on the rest. I had some good stuff to sit and ready to go. Brand new in the box sealed AT Walker the shuttle sealed in the box, and the Millennium Falcon sealed. Like that stuff, I was like, I'm going to sit on that stuff, sell some of the figures, and I'm going to be a rich man in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
I made back about half, I think, of what I paid right within the first week. So I'm like, I could live on just that, that wasn't too bad. All right. So one morning, my life changed.
But you got to do it in the voice. Go full screen.
All right, here we go.
And do the voice.
One morning, my life changed forever.
Beautiful, Chris. It's just gorgeous. I'm telling you. It's just,
yeah.
Right a tear in my eye, man. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I this might be TMI, but I was taking my morning poop, and I get a phone call, and it was from. I'm sure you've gotten these numbers before, but where it says blocked or like or whatever, no caller ID or something like that. This one said like something I'd never seen before. It was like caller unknown something. To this day, never seen it before again.
No kidding.
And I was like, okay, but I answered it. And
sure.
I'm going to say his name because I can. His name is Ben, the guy that sold me the stuff. Ben's like, oh shoot, Benjamin something. But anyway, it's him freaking out. He's like, hey, my cousin found out I sold some of this our uncle's toys. He's really upset. He was hoping to get some of those. So I'm wondering if he comes into your store, can you just not tell him that I sold them to you? I don't want to cause any problem. I can come by and give you some more money to keep my name out of it. Well, right then and there, at that point,
oh shoot!
At that exact moment when he offered me more money randomly, like the money back, like he can give me the money back.
Money back, yeah. I'll give you some of the money back.
I got to tell you, it might be TMI, but I pinched that sucker off, threw on some clothes, and I drove down to my store.
I will save that food for later.
I drove there as fast as I could.
Oh man.
And
that's the new one. By the way, that's the new Just Another Chris t-shirt. I'll save that food for later. I won't even take any money for the idea.
So great. I got there, and my goal was, this was hours before the store even opened. My goal was to get the stuff out of there as fast as possible. Because I didn't know if some crazy cousin's going to be busting down the door, or Ben was going to bust in the door. Something in my head thought someone was just going to break in and steal the stuff.
Yeah, I hear you.
I took everything that was left and loaded into my car and was leaving. Now, when I was on my way out after getting everything, I noticed a flashing light on my phone, a voice message on my store phone.
Shit.
Not uncommon though.
Yeah, but
it was only a one call, one missed call, one voicemail. I'm like, I gotta play this. I hit play.
Thursday, 11:45 p.m. Hi, this is Richard Bates. I just got back to my house after being gone for 5 weeks, and your Star Wars collection was stolen out of my closet. I filed a police report. I want my whole thing back. That is my collection. I can document every single piece. I'm sorry, but I want my shit back. That's my whole fucking collection.
God freaking dang it. Great. So I just went home, unloaded all the stuff into my living room of my house. And then I drove back to the store. And then later that day, this dude walks in, which I recognized immediately. And he had his little crew with him. He had a little posse. He was like Biff and his crew. And the reason I known the guy is because like a couple months back, he brought in a really, really crappy, damaged Star Wars in the package figure. It was a C-3PO, like the pull-apart one. and Return of the Jedi card. At the time, in the condition it was in, $50 at most, right?
Yeah.
And he was like going off of how rare it is, and he was wanting hundreds and hundreds of dollars for it, and I kept telling him no. And then he was like looking around the shelf, like, I'll take trade. And then he, I had you might remember this, maybe I got it from you, possibly, but it was a G.I. Joe sideshow. It was a Viper Trooper.
Yeah, you probably did.
I think it was yours at one time. And well, this one was in the box though. I think yours was out of the box. But anyway, regardless.
No, you got my stuff at the second location.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Oh, I'll just take this. Bye." And was like walking out. Yeah. And he was just going to walk out my store with like a $300.
Yeah, no kidding. Those weren't cheap.
Yeah. And so I had to like run at him and like block him. Like, what are you doing? You can't. Like, no.
We never made a deal. Yeah.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm giving you a really good deal on this thing. So we kind of had some words, nothing too crazy, but he gave the thing back and left. Never saw him again until this day he walks in. And I'm like, what is going on? This is weird.
Yeah.
And it gets weirder. I mean, there's 1,000 times more stuff coming. But at the time I had a friend living with me. He needed a place to stay. His name was Ray. I had told him what was going on. Turns out one of the Biff crew members stepped away to take a call that happened to be from my roommate, Ray.
What?
Yep. Ray knows everybody, so it's not too crazy, but crazy that then and there.
Ray knows everybody.
I'm like, what is happening? But Ray's not a toy collector. Ray's this gay Ray. He named himself that. He's much, much older than me, older than you. Why does he know this kid, basically?
Right.
That's super strange.
Super weird.
And so anyway, so Richard, this guy's name's Richard, he's claiming that his stuff is stolen. He's saying, yeah, I had $40,000 worth of Star Wars stuff stolen. But
this is already the guy who thought that a pull-apart 3PO is worth a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah. And I'm like, do you have it? I'm like, well, I can't. I mean, legally, I can't. I mean, I probably could, but just for my own legal protection, I don't think I can share the stuff that I buy and like who I buy it from.
Yeah, right.
It's fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure I can't because I do have their copy of their ID. It has their address for privacy reasons and all that stuff.
That's not your job. That's police's job at that point,
right. And so he was like, who did you buy it from? Blah, blah, all this stuff. And because I did post the pictures on my Facebook page and stuff. I had it, but he waited this long. Yeah. And he waited this long. It was like, I think I said earlier it was a week. It was actually 2 weeks later because this guy had a story of he was out of town for 2 weeks on a work trip or something. But
in the long run, we're jumping ahead, but this guy's story, story was funky as heck too.
So spoiler alert. Yeah. More than likely this was an insurance scam.
Yeah. That's
the spoiler at the end.
On the news.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, this dude, this MFer, this guy, Richard, he wanted this stuff back. He wanted to know who sold it to me. He wanted the IDs and stuff. He already told me he filed a police report and all that stuff. I said, cool, I'll talk to the police. I'll only work with them, not working with you. I don't know who to believe, right at this point. And I'm the one that's paid out all this money. So, and whatnot. And so and he was going through his phone and showing me all the stuff that he was claiming that was stolen. And I don't know about you, but if you grab your phone and start scrolling on your phone and swiping like he was, it's like this, you're going to come across like, oh, here's a picture of my dog, or here's a picture of my car, or something completely random, unrelated, not perfect photos, sideways, backwards, close-up shots of every piece of thing that was claiming to be stolen, and one big group shot of everything that was stolen. And
this guy's story always seemed shady as hell to me.
Crazy weird. I'm like,
I never seen him. We saw him on the news.
Yeah,
because he went on the local news to talk about this. And even when I saw him on the news, I'm like, huh?
Yeah, he called everyone.
Chewbacca right there, see him?
Well, can you imagine all of those guys stolen?
Chewbacca. I know, I can't. Richard Bates had more than $40,000 worth of vintage Star Wars merchandise stolen from his home. And here's a shot of the collection. Look at this, that Bates and his friends found online. The thief had apparently sold much of the collection to a nearby toy store.
And it's just nostalgia, and everybody kind of likes it. So it's something you can share with people.
Now, these are vintage pieces in great condition, and Bates hopes police and his insurance will help him get back the pieces that turned up at the store.
Richard Bates came home to a rude awakening last night. Tens of thousands of dollars of these Star Wars collectibles gone from his closet shelves.
Yeah, there's a lot of cysts out there.
This Vancouver man says someone turned to the dark side when they stole his Star Wars memorabilia from his home.
I tried to use Star Wars as realize that we all walk that line between good and bad.
He says the thief crossed that line.
It was amazing that it was just all gone.
After taking what he says is the most extensive collection of this kind in Washington state. He estimates $30,000 of the $45,000 cache of toys was taken.
Thank God they left a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure it was a perfect time to steal my stuff and sell it.
Richard says the thief not only stole an investment,
The better part of my savings was wrapped up in these things.
he's even gotten tattoos to keep the force close.
And I just try to use it as a moral compass to do what's right. It just reminded me, do or do not, there is no try.
If you have any idea where the missing collectibles might be or who took them, call Vancouver Police.
Well, Vancouver police are looking for Fox 12's most wanted, who stole a very large collection of Star Wars memorabilia. And as Fox 12's Marilyn Deutsch reports, the collection is worth tens of thousands of dollars.
This is an original mail-away figure stand still in the box.
A collection conservatively estimated at $45,000. From the time he was 14, Rich scrimped and saved to collect some of his generation's most iconic memorabilia.
I would go buy a $200 figure. I'd be like, dude, this is a Luke Skywalker 32 back. It's in good condition.
Rich was away on business for a few weeks. When he got back Friday night, a thief had cleaned out the vast majority of his collection, though not all. Star Wars is his philosophy.
I got this tattoo and I followed Yoda's teachings, and now I have a brand new house. I'm out of debt just by following Star Wars teaching.
Obviously hotter than ever right now because the new movie Star Wars The Force Awakens comes out in December. In Vancouver, Marilyn Deutsch, Fox 12 Oregon.
Because he inflated the number from 30, 40, 50, and then like CNN was even reporting on it. I'm pretty sure they were talking 60,000.
Yeah.
And
I remember sitting there thinking, because I remember talking with you, because you and I were friendly at that time, and I remember just being like, I was looking at the picture, right? And I'm like, I don't see the value there. I don't see it. Like, oh yeah, there's some sealed Millennium Falcon. Fine, that's 400, 450
at the time,
right? I mean, yeah, it's not now, obviously, but and you're like, okay, well, there's a Royal Guard. That's $60. Like, who cares? Was weird.
Yeah.
There's no. I'm like, there's no skiff here. There's no yak face. There's not. Yeah.
Yep. And I asked him. I was like, "Hey, was this your entire collection?" It's like, no. Luckily, they only took a portion of it.
That's my whole fucking collection.
And you watch the news reportings of him talking, and he's just full of crap. The way he's talking about how he lives life by like Yoda's teaching and stuff. It's a prime example of the customers.
He wanted to reach through and strangle him.
But however, any investigator could probably determine this is like. I even told the police this. I was like, you look at the news report and they're showing him going into his closet in an empty room, not even displayed, which is another huge red flag. People display their stuff. But he goes, he's like, luckily they only stole one of my Millennium Falcons. He has a box that was perfectly, that fit two sealed Millennium Falcons in there. But the thief decided to take his sweet time and open up the box and only slide one of them out.
He only took the one out. Yeah.
Only one.
Unfortunately for you, then.
Greedy.
Yeah, not to get greedy. And unfortunately for you, though, as the story goes on, you weren't dealing with competent police. You were dealing with the Vancouver Police Department and the Clark County Sheriff Department, who suck. Dude, get me.
They made my life hell for a month. A month. And I told them from the beginning, I was willing to work with them whatever they needed. I contacted every single person I sold something to, told them what was going on. And I said, if you're willing to send this back, I will refund you. I will pay the shipping, and I'll also pay for insurance.
There you go.
And everyone did except for like one person because they saw the news reportings. I was getting death threats coming in at my through phone calls. I had to, because the local Fox News screwed me because they were reporting on this story, and then they were like, if anyone knows any whereabouts of this collection, please contact the local police. And they're showing my store They showed a picture of my store. They showed a picture of my picture of the collection and stuff. But like, if you know anything, call the police. And so I was getting calls and emails. People were like, I'm never shopping there again. My reputation was destroyed. So I had to call them and clear the air. But obviously the damage was done for a while. But even then, after that, after all this went down, the honesty part of it, which I guess I'll have to fully finish this off to get to that. But to speed it all up, the way it ended was this. At the time I had a dog and a cat, and I had a roommate, and my ex-wife was living with me at the time. And all the stuff was sitting in my living room. I was afraid.
That's totally not a sitcom. That's not a big deal. Yeah.
Right. So
your gay friend Ray and your ex-wife and the dog and cat.
Right. So I was worried that maybe the animals or something would like damage the stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I ended up moving the stuff across the street because that's where my ex-mother-in-law used to live. I put it all in her garage and in some containers, so it was all safe. But I had told the police that the stuff was still at my house.
Right.
And so that's a key feature or key detail to know. But I told them they could come and get it anytime they want. And they're like, oh, there's a procedure that we have to do before we can just come get it. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Well, one night I was in bed late at night and I was like, you know what? I should probably move that stuff back to my house. Don't know why, but I should. So I did. Moved it back in the living room. Went back to sleep. Next day comes around, more hellfire was raining down from dumb police and dumb people emailing and hating on me. I didn't have business for a while. And, or the business I did have were just people coming in just to talk about it and being like, how dare you?
Oh God.
I had to yeah. Not to mention though, like small side note, when the day I spent all that money, another giant collection of like vintage He-Man and G.I. Joe came in. I had to turn away because I had no money.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So, so I missed out on all that stuff. Like a huge collection of sealed, brand new sealed stuff. It was a crazy day for vintage toys, for sealed stuff to come in. But anyway, so
at least I'm not reopening an old wound. That's the good positive here.
No, and I've been able to look back on it and be like, geez. But I did not sleep at all, like for a long time, because I didn't know when. Like I kept having these weird dreams that the police were just gonna kick down my door one night, or something like that.
Which basically ended up doing, right?
Pretty much,
essentially.
Yeah. So one night I was at my parents' house, and which is near my old store, and I get a call from the deputy sheriff, which, by the way, Brian Preston, deputy. He would refer to himself as the sheriff, and I kept correcting him. I corrected him any chance I got. I was like, "Oh, what's up, deputy?" Because he's being a dickhole to me.
Brian Preston, you're an asshole.
He was a major one, dude. He also would. He was also only a couple years older than me, which was also kind of interesting. He's just this hothead kid that took his job titles to, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets weird and crazy. I get a call from him saying, "Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Were you at your store?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not currently. What's up?" Well, I just got the word from my superior that we're gonna come down and pick up that stuff. So where can we? When can we meet? I was like, "Well, I'm on my way home now. I can get the stuff and take it to the store." And he's like, "We'll just meet you at your house." I'm like, "No,
that's fine. No, we don't need to do that."
Well, I said I have a wife, roommate.
Yep.
It's late at night. It's like 9 o'clock. I would much rather do this at my store. Keep them out of they don't need to be bothered with.
They don't need to be bothered. Yeah, right.
And he's like, "Cool." I'm like, "All right, I'll give you a call when I'm on my way or whatever." No, it wasn't that. I told him what time. Yeah, I had to because his number.
I'll be there at like 8 or
officer's numbers come in blocked, so you can't return their phone call.
Yeah, it's good too.
And so, quick pin. Remember when I mentioned that number that had called me when Ben called me? When we hung up the phone, his number wasn't in my phone as a call. In my recents, where it shows like no caller ID. It was just as if he never called me.
That's because he was calling from the police station. Yeah.
Maybe.
He was calling from the police station. He was calling from the police station or from one of the cops' phones that were investigating it.
But but when the cop called me, But when the cop called me, it stayed on there as no caller ID.
Yeah, that's weird.
But not when he called me. But anyway, I don't think so in your case, because later on he did get arrested. They had to find him and they got him.
But they had to find, who knows what was going on there? Though I don't know.
So anyway, so they call me and they're like, let's meet up. So I told them a time. At the time I had my Firebird, so none of the stuff wouldn't fit in my car, so I was going to use my mom's car. My mom insisted to go. Growing up, my dad would call her Gestapo mom because you did not want to mess with her, man. She would just take care of business. So she was like, "Oh, I'm coming with you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." Okay. And so if you're gonna use my car, I'm coming. So I got her car and I was driving, and as I was driving to my house, Brian calls me, and this is where he screwed up. He's like, "Hey, Chris, so just we're checking in to see when you're going to be heading over to your store."
Oh, jeez, almighty!
Yep. And I was like, I told you I'll be there at like X amount of time, and he's like, "Okay, no problem. Just want to make sure you're on your way." I'm like, so I called my ex-wife at the time, or my wife at the time. I was like, "Hey," but the officers don't know that the house across the street is related to that house, basically. Uh-huh. And so I call my ex-wife. She parks. We used to park in the garage there. I call her and I was like, "Hey, can you look outside and see if there's any police officers or whatever?"
Right.
And so she says no. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's an undercover car or something. I don't know. So then minutes later, she calls me back and is like, "Oh, nope. Yep. There is a cop car." I live on a dead end street and it kind of it's an L shape, and he's parked in the L. And then there at the time, my sister-in-law, I think, was living there at their mom's house, but she had a trailer and he was parked on that side of that trailer.
Trying to hide.
Yeah. And so I'm like, great. But here's the other thing. I as I'm getting home, I'm coming down my street. I'm like, I don't know that car. I don't know that car.
Oh, jeez.
That car over there don't recognize. And then I'm like, there was 6 cars that I didn't recognize down my street. I park. So normally I would do a flip and park next, but I didn't bother. I just parked next to my house. And I parked the car and I'm about to say something to my mom to give her a heads up. But the second I hit park, boom, all these cops' lights come on everywhere, so completely surrounded.
Oh, yeah.
And then they swarm in. They get out of their cars. They're all undercover ones, guns drawn. And then it was like a scene out of a movie. You know how they have the henchmen roll up, and
they
then
came out at you with their guns out.
Yeah, they weren't pointed at me, but they had them drawn.
Okay, were they were the sheriffs, right? Clark County, is that Clark County?
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck you, Clark County.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Some of them were police, and some of them were sheriff.
Yeah,
but they're all terrible. So it was like a scene out of a movie too, because I'm ignoring it all. I told Mom they're just the cops. I told them ignore them. We're just going inside. We're getting the stuff, and we're loading the car, and we're going to the store. Yeah. Ignore them. But it was like a scene out of the movie. I get out of the car, henchmen have us surrounded. Then the crime lord boss flicks his lights on and rolls up.
Oh, jeez. I caught the Star Wars thief.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Meanwhile, this whole entire time, I've told him from day one, I'm like, I've been getting the stuff back. You can come by my house anytime you want to get it.
Get it.
Name a place and whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm fully cooperative.
Fully cooperative. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're treating me like this. And so he gets out of the car. It's Ryan. He's like, again, a scene out of a movie. He has his gun drawn and some papers in the other hand. And then he's like, all right, Chris, we're doing this tonight. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'll see you at my store in about 30 minutes. And I just walk. I start walking, and he's like, no, we're doing this now, right here.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no, I told you, I didn't want to, disturb my roommates and my wife and stuff. And he's like, I already talked to your wife. She's cool with it. I'm like, no, you're totally lying. And then, this partner was next to me, and he started yelling at me. And he was like, if you don't let us in this house right now, I'm going to fucking arrest you. I'm going to kick down that door, and I'm going to take this stuff, and you're going to jail.
Cool. Show me the warrant.
That's what I said. And then I was like, oh, this is what I said. I ignored that guy because I know that's not the law. And I look at him. I was like, I think I literally was like, and then, like look over at Ryan and I point at the papers. I was like, is that a warrant? And he's like, no, but I can wake up a judge and get one. And he's like slowly turns away and starts walking and like kind of doing like some look backs. I don't say a word.
Yeah, by all means, wake him up.
Meanwhile, there's three officers had pulled my mom aside because she was in rage. They took three officers to the side, and she's like, they had her surrounded to keep her away from me because she was like going like, this is what I was pissed. And then I was like, I flat out was like, hey Ryan, like you don't need a warrant. I told you from day one you can get this stuff.
We get this whenever. Yeah,
he's like,
right.
He's like, when you said you were gonna meet me at your store and do this stuff, that was super suspicious.
Oh, give me.
I was like, okay, cool. What would have mattered? Like, now, granted, I told him, I was like, yeah, it's just in my living room. Granted, I'm so glad the night before I moved it.
Oh, right. Seriously? Yeah. No kidding. You brought it back. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah. So I let them in, which I shouldn't have. I should have just told them literally just F off and get a warrant, come back. And so two of the officers come into my house, Ryan and the guy that threatened to arrest me and kick down my door. So my mom, roommate, ex-wife sitting on the couch. I'm standing. The officers have been threatening to arrest me all night. They're looking at this stuff. They're like going itemizing things out. Don't know they don't even know what it is. Threaten to search the rest of the house because there's things missing. But I'm like pointing it out, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to arrest you if you don't give me this and that." Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, my roommate Ray, because like I said, he knows everybody. He name drops one of the two judges that would sign off on an arrest warrant, as well as a search warrant. And he's like, do you want me? I can't remember the name. He's like, oh yeah, I have coffee with him every other week. And they shut up. They don't say another word. They never threatened to arrest me again. One of the officers that threatened to kick down my door took he looks at me and he's like, are you going to shoot me? And I'm like a couple feet away. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, no. So I take a step back. I had taken everything out of my pockets already at this point, rolled my sleeves up. Right. Because I thought I was getting arrested. Sure. And so, but also just to show like, hey, like I'm not, I got nothing. Right.
Yeah.
Because I was wearing a long sleeve shirt at the time. And so he's like, oh no, I'm just really hot. And so he takes his gun badge, which are on his bulletproof vest, takes it off and puts it on the floor right next to my feet.
Oh my God.
And I just take a giant step backwards. Everyone's shocked and all. And I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
And so there were apparently two figures that weren't on they're on my list that I gave them of the stuff that had come in that I bought in that weren't in the bag of stuff or the collection of stuff that they were going to be taking. And he's like, okay, so I've warrant. He pulls me aside and whispers this to me so Ray couldn't hear it. He's like, oh, I have warrant. I have reason, probable cause to take you in if you don't provide these figures.
Probable cause, idiots.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? I told you it was a rough list. You gave me no time to put it together. Probably sold it. These are the ones I've brought back. I probably already sold it, man.
Right.
And he's like, looks at me. He's like, what do you want me to do about that then? I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to arrest me? Yeah. Arrest me. I'm like, take me in. You've been threatening me all night. And then he's like, whoa. Don't get all testy.
Oh yeah. Don't assert your rights. Come on. Don't assert your rights. How dare you?
I look at him and I tell him, I've done 10 times more than I should have. I should have told you to get out of my store the day you came in.
Yep.
Like type of thing.
You should have told him to pound sand. I mean, honestly, the guy that came in, you should have told him to pound sand. You should. I mean, I
ridiculous. Went above and beyond what I should have, only to try to build some sort of try to like repair my reputation.
Yep.
It's regardless of the law, like what I can't or should have, like what I needed to do or had to do. I didn't have to do it,
You were doing what was right with the information you had. Now,
right.
However, had you known at the time that the guy who it was stolen from obviously was a lying SOB and orchestrated this whole thing, which, by the way, I'll go on the record and say, this guy orchestrated this.
100%. He was literally. So I'll get to that. The way things wrapped up at the house was Ryan told me, Mr. Deputy Sheriff Ryan Preston, he told me that there's still $6,000 worth of stuff missing. Jeez. And where is it? And I told him I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
He's like, okay. And then I asked him, do I get any receipts for the stuff that you've taken? Oh yeah, okay. And he had to go through every piece of thing. He'd fill it out, and he was like so upset that I made him give me a receipt to prove that I gave these things back to the. Yeah. It was confiscated basically.
Right.
And then there was like all the cops had shown up, had left, except for the two. Right?
They all left?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
There was some in my backyard, I found out. Because my ex-wife had told me she'd heard footsteps back there earlier.
Wow.
They staked out the place for a while, I guess.
And then you cops want to know why we don't like you.
Yeah, and so I hear him while he's like filling paperwork. He's like, oh yeah, guys, yeah, totally. I'm like, okay, what was that about? So he goes out to the car. Two cars show up again, and they're sitting out in my driveway, looking at all the stuff, laughing, like, oh, I had one of these when I was a kid. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Ryan comes back, hands me the receipts and stuff. I look at him and I say, am I under arrest? You know what this asshole told me? He goes, oh, what? Whoa! Why would you think that? You're listed as a victim on the police report.
Piece of shit.
Right? And then there was another news reporting like the next day or something like that where it was like the follow-up happy story of Rich getting his stuff back. And then he's like, oh yeah, Rich really wants to thank the Vancouver Police Department for all their hard work on getting his stuff back. He said, Richard did assure us that he did thank the shop owner.
Now we've learned they're back with their original owner in Vancouver.
I mean, look at the condition.
Star Wars collector Richard Bates says he's relieved that the shelves and walls that were empty last week are again filling up with the toys that were stolen out of his home. He says thanks to Vancouver police, about 80% of the lost Jedis, Ewoks, and Imperial fighters have now been rescued and returned to their home base.
Everybody pulled together to help me out, and I'm so grateful.
Bates says many of the stolen items were sold to a local resale shop. He thanked the store owner who gave them back right away, along with online buyers that did the same. He's also grateful to Detective Ryan Preston.
It's nice to see that someone went the extra mile to get something back.
Richard says a group of officers returned the items to him personally.
3 officers brought it by. Yeah, they were pretty happy about it too. We had a couple of Star Wars fans bringing it back, so it was fun.
Which no, he
Richard,
didn't.
Richard, you're a thief.
But here's the thing. After that aired, he called me. And he's like, Chris, I just want to let you know, I'm coming for you next.
Wow.
There's still $6,000 worth of my stuff missing. Wow. And he was pissed that he got his stuff back. He was so angry.
It's funny because I remember you telling me how mad he was that he got it back. Yeah. Like he had waited long enough so that he thought you had sold it all.
Yep. Yeah, wait 2 weeks.
And then no one would return it. Yeah, he waited long enough, and then no, you're like, well, here it all is. Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah, it was an insurance scam. It sounded like he was going to get $30,000, but he got it back. Sounds like he still got $6,000 worth of stuff for insurance. And and then, so after that aired, people saw like I tried at least, and so it did repair some of it.
That's good.
And then, however, there was this one lady that saw it and saw how honest I was and took advantage of it. That was a bad story, but I won't get into that. But a couple quick last notes on this was my ex-wife at the time. She worked at a daycare, and one of the kids that went to the daycare, one of the parents, she was, probably still is, the state prosecutor for Washington. And so I got to talk to her on the phone. She called me, and she's like, Chris, you sell toys. Do they have serial numbers on it? I'm like, no. She's like, so this is what you need to do next time, or if there's a next time. Officer shows up, you say any profanity word to them, and you tell them, get off the premises. You never let them in ever again. Never. They cannot prove at all that these toys are the same toys that were the ones that were taken. Because the other guy could have stole them, sold them, brought you something different. You tell them to get the heck out of the store, and that is the end of it.
It's the whole being too nice thing, you know?
Yep. And then, it is legitimately. And so I learned that lesson, and I told her about the officer that took his vest off, and she lost it. She's like, what was his name? And and she also looked me up in the system to see if there was a case being built on me for anything, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And she said, no, my name comes out up clear. So no one was ever even building one. So the whole time them threatening me to arrest me wasn't even true. They said they had all this probable cause because they also told me a false story. Oh yeah, Ben told me you were in on this the whole time. So we've already been investigating, blah, blah, blah. All lies, because that had to have been in reports, and that those weren't in the report. So they were just using their power over me to try and end this as fast as possible, I guess, because it did go national. The story, and CNN was reporting on this. And so I told him the officer.
A $30,000 Star Wars collection that wasn't worth a quarter of that. It just wasn't.
No, it was worth about $10,000 street market on the high end at the time.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I don't remember the officer's name that took his literally gun badge and vest off of it in front of me. I can't remember his name, but she said, oh, I can find out, no problem, because he would have had to have been on the report for being there. And she said, she's like, I don't know exactly what will happen to him, but he's done.
Yeah.
So I at least got that satisfaction. And yeah, she said, so she was like, don't let them do anything like that ever again. Yeah. And then a funny thing happened a week later after that, maybe 2 weeks. A dude walks into my store. It sounds like an opening to a joke, but a guy walks into my store and says, hi, I'm a U.S. Marshal. I'm like, here we go again.
Here we go. The great Thundercats came.
So I'm like, this is what I have to deal with my own stores. But he was fine. I didn't believe him. I legitimately laughed. I was like, because it just happened. I thought he was just in street clothes, no badge, no gun. He was just a regular guy. And he says he's a U.S. Marshal. And then I laugh, and he reaches into his pocket and flashes a U.S. Marshal badge. And I'm like, I'm like, great. What happened? And he told me, I'm looking for this individual. He pulls out an actual wanted poster. I didn't know those were a thing outside of movies.
Even existed.
Literally wanted, and then reward, and then the money amounts. I'm like, those exist. Okay. Wow. But of course I recognized the guy. He had sold me something a few days back. He's like, I don't care about that. It was $20 thing. He long story short, he was looking for a guy that was writing fake checks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And he literally said, I've been hot on his tail for 6 months. I've been nearly missing him by a day or two. I'm like, dang, man, this is like a movie.
Wow, you're kidding, right? That's your tax dollars at work, man. That's it. That's amazing. Jeez.
Yeah. So it took a little bit to repair the name a little bit, but that wasn't a fun time for a month plus.
Well, but it shows how good you were doing anyway that you did recover from that, because had that happened to Dustin, that would have been the end of him.
Well, Dustin used it. He loved to find out that I was up in some sort of scandal, because he was telling people that don't go to him. Look, he's on the news for stealing Star Wars toys.
Yeah, you're a felon for selling drugs. I mean, you want to hear a cookie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also even to this day, I travel for work and stuff, and I stop into comic book stores and stuff. I was in Texas one time. They're not there anymore, but the Lost Toys, I don't know if you ever went in there, but I think they're in Dallas, pretty sure. Okay. But I got recognized.
You're kidding.
Yeah, they saw me.
Really?
They're like, oh, you're that guy that had the stolen Star Wars stuff. This is years later.
You're like, dude, you break, man. Wow.
He ended up giving me a free figure.
He's
felt bad. He felt bad. But every now and then, that'll happen. And then like one of my recent, like I was dating this girl a couple of years ago, and one of her coworkers, husband used to come into my store. He stopped coming to my store because he found out I was stealing Star Wars toys.
Oh, jeez.
So he was telling his wife that, and then his wife was like getting mad at my ex-girlfriend, girlfriend. Oh, your boyfriend's a thief and a criminal and all that stuff. And
oh, jeez almighty. Wow.
So I still every now and then have to.
It still comes up and bites me. Did the guy that did it, he went to jail or anything? What happened? Did you get any restitution?
So great question. He eventually got arrested. I was subpoenaed to show up in court and testify. It never happened because the guy jumped bail and just disappeared. So he was, immediately a warrant was out for his arrest. So prior to that, though, there was already a warrant out for his arrest. So what I've been able to determine as to what really happened was Richard knew the guy. He was friends with him. He was his roommate. And Ben owed a guy money. This is what the police or the prosecutor told me, actually.
Not the cops.
Not the cops. So I got the true story because she read me the report. He owed a guy a lot of money, and he was already going to jail.
Richard did, or the guy who sold it to you?
The guy that sold me the stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
His name is Ben.
Ben. Okay.
And he owed a guy a bunch of money, and he was literally just trying to get enough money to pay that guy off.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then basically go to jail because he already had a warrant out. And so he claimed this isn't proven. This is truly just my own personal opinion and view of what I saw and witnessed and kind of pieced together.
Yeah.
Richard had beef with me because he tried to steal something from me, and we had some words.
Right. Yep.
Right. Star Wars movie was coming out in a few months, and Richard was sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth anything quite what he thought. So if he just dumps it now somehow and gets triple the amount of money, aka an insurance claim, have his roommate claim to steal it from him, take it to me, get the cash he wants, right. To pay the guy off.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have the stuff. Wait a few weeks before claiming the stuff is stolen. Therefore, he would think the stuff was lost forever. Right, I wasn't able to get it back. He wouldn't anticipate. He wouldn't anticipated me being able to track down with people that I sold it to and all that stuff. And so, and then he'd be a rich man. So everyone wins except for me. I was out thousands and thousands of dollars because I refunded everybody, paid for shipping and insurance, and some of the stuff, like the insurance cost was like $100 to have it shipped back. Type of stuff like that. So I was out probably close to $5,000 of money that I never got again. Just gone. And so, he got arrested, right? And then about, I don't know, when was it? Like randomly I got a letter in the mail saying, you're gonna get restitution for about half. Well, the original amount of that I paid him, not the money, obviously, through I on my own refunded everybody and paid for the shipping also. So I was like, okay, cool. But I'm like, well, he has to go to jail, serve his sentencing. So in 5 years, he'll get out of jail, has to find a job, and then I'll get, his checks, garnished. So I wrote that off as a wash. And so I got a letter in the mail because it showed me his sentencing. He got 2 years jail time for it. And so after 2 years, I called up the attorney office or whatever in Washington or Clark County and asked about it. And they said, oh, yeah, he's been released and he hasn't paid. Well, I guess I have to issue another warrant for his arrest.
Jeez almighty. Wow.
So that was a weird feeling to be the person to have to call and get a guy arrested. And so I guess he went back to jail. And then in the year 2020, during COVID, I randomly got a check in the mail for $20 for subpoena. So 5 years later, I got $20.
You got $20. You're getting there.
And then I've never gotten a check again. And I even lost the check.
At this rate, you'll be 600 years old. You'll be made whole. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, like if let's say he gets out of jail and gets a job, all he has to do is go to Oregon and he never have to pay me. because it's only within the state. I would have to on my own hire an attorney to find him.
Oh, and go get him.
And get him. It's only in the state of Washington. And I live on the border in Vancouver, Washington. So it's like, boom, it's like 5 minutes over the bridge. So
go 5 minutes over.
So to answer your question, I will never see that full money. I do have a check for $20 somewhere in my house. During COVID, it got lost, but I was going to frame it.
Yeah, right. You would have cashed it. You're like, I'm keeping this. This is a souvenir. That's awesome.
$20 check for a little remembrance of that lovely time of my life.
Those good times, man.
Of those days. But yeah, it was a national story and probably one of the biggest scandal I've been a part of.
Yes, well done. Good job, man. I love it. That's fantastic. You're an international criminal. It's fantastic.
I can definitely laugh about it now, and but yeah, during it, man, it was such a traumatic, and I didn't sleep at all. I was having like not really panic attacks, but like just like anxious all the time because the cops were, like you said, were threatening to come get me. So I was having, when I was able to sleep, I was having dreams of them just like busting in my house, arresting me, and throwing me in jail.
Jeez,
it was not a good time. And then customers having to deal with them and death threats I was getting. Regulars that were just like, fuck you, man, screw you, you're a terrible person.
Yeah. But, nuts. Absolutely nuts, man.
Yeah, well, on that note, probably should wrap it up here.
We've only been talking for 3 hours, so
no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, I bet there's you got 20 minutes of usable stuff in there, maybe 25 minutes.
Yeah, probably like 5 minutes. No big deal.
5 minutes.
But hey, I really appreciate you sitting down and having a chat. I've been chatting for a while, so it was great seeing you and talking to you.
I know, it's just awesome chatting with you, dude. I don't even care if you don't use any of this. This was fucking great. This is like a little FaceTime chat with Chris. I love it. Love it.
We'll have to do it more, even just off recording.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely. It's chitty chatty. All right. I'm going to go have some food.
Nice. Woo-wee. Man, that was a wild episode. Oh my gosh. It was really hard to figure out what to cut out and leave. So if you want to see some of the majorly extended episode, consider checking out the Spitfire Club again. There's an extended version of that right now over there. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. This one was so much fun. I'm gonna have to have Jason back for sure, just because there's just so many crazy stories that we go down in these rabbit holes and conversations. He was one of the few customers that did come into my store that I actually look forward to have them come in, because I knew when he came in we were gonna have some lengthy and amazing talks. I had a couch in my store that I regretted putting there, except for when Jason came in, because I was allowed to sit down and actually have a conversation. What do you guys think of this episode? Let me know. Would you like to hear more stories from Jason? Let me know, and I'll be sure to get him back on. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Yes, this is also a video podcast available on Spotify and YouTube. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, get out there. Make some art.